Welcome to episode 56 of the XRM Toolcast. In this episode, Scott and I speak with Daniel Cai, founder of KingswaySoft and a former MVP. We talk through the history of the KingswaySoft SSIS adapter, as well as some of the improvements made along the way, although he remains rather hush-hush about future improvements coming to the tool. We also talk about some of Daniel's pet peeves like tables versus entities, which I'm assuming appears on many of our short list of pet peeves. So, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the XRM Toolcast. With me, your host, Daryl, always raising the bar, and my co-host, Scott, fully rested. Scott, how's it going? Back from vacation, fully rested.
Fully rested.
Ready to take on the world.
Thank you, Daryl. Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually hiking in the Canadian Rockies like a mountain man, fighting the mice and mosquitoes that there seems to be quite a lot of in Alberta.
Oh,
yeah, apparently I am the most tastiest thing that mosquitoes can find. Like they told all their friends for miles around, and hey, there's a great tasting Englishman. You've got to go and check this out. Like a fine
English blood.
Yes, exactly. But and encounters with a few mice. But did you know, right? In Alberta, there are no rats anywhere. In the whole of Alberta, no rats exist. Now, I don't know if that's because rats just, they just don't want to go there, but they have apparently have these SWAT teams, on the borders to sort of find and exterminate any rats that go across. I mean, we went over the border. I couldn't see them. Obviously, they're hidden stealth teams to sort of seek out those rats and destroy them. But yeah, I did this. I mean, coming from England, where you're never more than about a foot from a rat, it was quite interesting. Yeah, but it's good. Thank you. All nicely rested.
I found something worse than mosquitoes actually last week.
Oh, really? What is this?
We made a rope swing in my backyard. I got it's 30, 40 foot branch off this tree, and so we threw up this rope and tied it up and had this one long rope with a seat to sit on the bottom. You can swing back and forth. It's a lot of fun. And there's extra rope at the bottom of it, and I was pushing my son, and I got it all above my head, and the extra rope was in my hand. I dropped it, and somehow it fell down, and when I turned around, it got wrapped around my foot, and he's obviously swinging back the other way at 20, 40 foot a second, and the rope just and took off huge chunks of skin off my ankle. It was, it looked like I was almost black compared to how white that, lowest layer of skin was. Somehow it didn't bleed. I guess it just burnt it all rather than bleeding, but it was, it's been almost 2 weeks now. It's still pretty nasty. I'll have to, maybe I can show it to the people. I don't know. We'll see if I can show it.
No, please don't. No, it sounds like it'll drop our viewers on YouTube. Yeah, already the YouTube viewers are quite low, but that'll be
yeah, it's actually chunks around the ankle of skin that are just gone now. It's crazy. So mosquitoes aren't so bad after that, but
no,
mosquitoes
I hope you recover.
We're not the point of this topic of this conversation. No, we have our a good friend, a former MVP I think we have on the show, Daniel Cai. Dan, thanks for joining us on the show here. Dan is the let's see. Yeah, I was reading your Twitter profile last night, and I thought that was kind of a good introduction you had. Dan's a technical nerd at KingswaySoft and leading provider of data integration solutions on SQL Server SSIS, and ex-MVP from 2011 to 2019. So, so not only is he the creator of KingswaySoft and runs that as his day job, he holds the distinct honor of being the very first MVP I ever met in person. So, it's got a special place in my MVP heart. So, Dan, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. That's very, very interesting introduction. Thank you so much for that intro. That's excellent. I could not be associated better with the MVP family than what you have said. So,
yes.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Daniel Cai. I have started the KingswaySoft business since like just around 10 years ago. So today we have grown to a lot of connection story and try to help the community, try to fill some gaps in the integration space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the great things about KingswaySoft is that you give away it for free for dev users and stuff. So you can play around with it. You can get it working. If you have like a little one-time baby integration, you can use it and you're happy with it. And then, once you have stuff that's ongoing, then you'd actually, then you'd probably like us to buy the software. But the being able to have access to it at that, dev level has always been very, very helpful. At least for me, I guess.
Yeah, can I just say thank you for making that dev level free, because it really is pivotal to so many projects, and I think it's something that people don't shout enough about. I think because there are other options for integration, for batch style integrations with SSI, but none others that give away that dev experience for free. So can I just say thank you very much, Daniel, because you could charge for it, right? Because it's that good. I mean, and people would pay for it. But thank you so much for making it free to the community.
Appreciate that feedback. It's our commitment or our mission to help the developer community. So we want to make it as easy as possible for the developer to get started with our solution. So we feel putting a charge on the running the job interactively, it's a shame. It's a evil in a certain way. So that's how we went to that kind of philosophy.
Yeah, because obviously if you wanted to do any integrations that are just going to run server side, and obviously, that's a whole kind of different thing. And you need service principles and server to server. And so many projects I've worked on, they start with that development, just doing a kind of a local migration, but then the migration goes so well that it's like, okay, well, we could just use the same tech for real time kind of regular scheduled batch type stuff that's happening on a daily basis and nightly basis or whatever, and then obviously they end up paying for it. So it makes good sense to me. You get people used to the tool, and then people start using it for other things as well. But also, can I have to say thank you for the T-shirt that you gave me back in I think 2013, the polo shirt. Literally, that's the best polo shirt I've ever owned. KingswaySoft polo shirt. I think it finally got too worn out, and I think the seam was splitting or something. Because I'd worn it so much. But it was awesome. It was the best merchandise I've ever received.
Thank you. I should send you another one.
You did?
Yeah, okay.
You should.
If you could,
you should.
Yeah. If you could, that would be amazing. Yeah. I'll be wearing it with honor on all future episodes.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sure.
Oh, that's funny. With working from home the last 3 years, I usually wear free T-shirts, because then if they wear out, I throw them away, right? And so I was my daughter came to me, school starting. She's like, "Hey, I need a shirt for art class to wear to get all dirty or whatever." And I was like, "Okay, here." And I grabbed out an old Power Object shirt I had from like 5 years ago. I got when I was working there, and I was like, "Hey, here you go." She's like, "But you can't give me this one. You wear it all the time." I was like, "Yeah, it's free though. Like, go ahead. Like, I'll just go to the next level of free shirt that I'm trying to go through and do that." So, it's funny how the shirts that we spend the most money, we tend to like keep in the back of the closet, use for special occasions. But then the ones that are free,
out,
the Daniel Cai shirts,
and I think all my kids have I've closed my kids on free T-shirts over the years as well from going to conferences. So they're getting a bit low on clothes actually, because we haven't been to conferences over the last couple of years. So I'm the only reason I'm going to Summit in North America is really to get the free T-shirt so I can clothe my kids.
Yeah, we missed that too. Mm-hmm.
As usual, we've gotten off topic from, or we actually kind of missed the initial part. So usually I like to start kind of with like, we didn't even say what is a tool. We just said, hey, it's KingswaySoft, and we assumed everybody knew what it is. So we got to have the back up to that, and then I also want to back up to the creation of the tool. So Dan, why don't you first explain for anyone that doesn't know what KingswaySoft is? What is the KingswaySoft? What is the tool for CRM, Dynamics, Dataverse, yada yada yada? What is that? What does that do, and how does it work? And then once you kind of go through that high level elevator pitch, go ahead and give us a history of how it kind of started.
Yeah. So in my earlier Dynamics community, Dynamics like a development experience time. That's back in 2007, 2008. So that at the time, I was involved in quite a few projects in Alberta in Canada. So the main challenge I had was to put data, to get data from one system to another. So mainly for two purposes: migration and integration. I wanted to do the difficult way. I really just coded. I coded 9 by 9 to do the migration or integration. I feel as a retrospect after I finished those projects, I feel that's just awful experience, and it takes a lot of my time. Otherwise, I can do better job for my client to properly fulfill their specific business requirement than coding for moving the data, because moving data is not technically the core business of the business. So with that kind of retrospect in my mind, I kind of poke around. I engaged with the SS project. I immediately liked it. So that was like a 6-month contract job. Once I finished the contract job, it was bigger like government, like enterprise integration project. So I took the idea, say I could combine the two technology to leverage what SS could offer, and by driving the integration solution. So that's when the idea comes from. So over the years, we developed the Dynamics. We try to catch up with every single API enhancement that Microsoft released. We embrace all the changes over the years, and also over the last 10 years, we have grown pretty substantially in the sense we are now serving clients from over 100 countries, and we have over 100 different APIs. So that's how we started, and that's where we are today.
Because it's not just the dynamics, the the Dataverse connection. You do connectors for so many other things. I think, do you do a connector for Salesforce?
Very good question. Yes, we do. We do have connection.
I thought you might do.
You have to let people migrate off of Salesforce onto Dynamics, right?
Well, good point, Daryl. Well made.
Yeah. We leave that liberty to the developer to make the call to whichever way they want to migrate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, no, it's been amazing to see, the number of connectors you've got grow over time. Because I was with you writing those custom SSIS stuff before you provided the toolkit, and it was like VB script. I think I remember you used to just be able to add the SDK assemblies to like a certain folder for the SSIS runtime, and then you could start referencing them in the VB script, and it was always horrible and really there was lots of code you end up repeating and copying and pasting, and it wasn't like very nice. And then as soon as you released that toolkit, it was like amazing, because you just drop it onto your SSIS surface and it just did all of that heavy lifting. And the point you just made about keeping up with the APIs, I think that's what I've been so impressed with over the years, how you've managed every time there was a new API feature, you then introduced that very quickly, into your toolkit. I mean, that must be a lot of work to keep on top of all of those changes, and not least the SOAP to Web API move and all those things.
Yeah, definitely. It's I appreciate that Microsoft has been evolving the API vastly over the years. There's a lot of things in the early days we couldn't do. Today we can easily do, such as audit log extraction, such as entity change. those are incredible feature. And if we don't, as an integration tool, if we don't have such a feature built in, we feel really, really lacking. So we have very strong call when those API comes out. We jump into the water right away. We try to swim with it. So that's our philosophy and how we have been growing. And it's our mission to support the community and to be part of the good community citizen to help everybody to succeed.
So the API limits, when they first came in, when they were sort of announced, I was using your toolkit on a quite large project, and it was like, oh no, how is it going to affect these integrations, because these API limits? And then very quickly you kind of introduced sort of like you said about, okay, well, this is going to be something that you'll have to do like retries and throttling, and and then you put like a blog post about okay, optimizing the number of batching requests and things like that. So I think that's what sets KingswaySoft apart from some of the other providers out there, is that you're so close to the metal, as it were, in terms of how the API works, that you can give that real technical background on things, rather than just like, oh, here's the connector, it's going to work for you. It's like, well, here's the connector, but here's all the details behind it, that rich information about what's going on. I think that's what's so cool for me. I mean, how much time do you invest in keeping track of these changes? It must be very time consuming.
It's not my full-time job.
Right, that's what you do. You get up in the morning and you go to the Microsoft Docs and say, what's changed?
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of the reason. But actually, I listen to all you guys, particularly MVP communities, put up in the community in terms of what's coming in the Microsoft ecosystem. I listen carefully. And even you may not hear from me much, but I do I do listen to all the trends and the news you guys make announcement in the community, and I follow you guys on Twitter and LinkedIn.
I do see you pop up occasionally here and then, and it's like, Daniel's still there. And I have this sort of awareness that you're always there somewhere, just just below the surface, collecting all of that from being an expert in your field. Like the recent enhancement you made to authorization. Do you want to just tell us about the changes that's happened about how you authenticate and authorize against the Dataverse services, and where we are with that?
Okay, that's a good point. Actually, that comes from your feedback, and you reach out to me to tell me a client story that triggers me to think a little bit further about that. Initially, we have a strong pushback on that. The main reason is our solution is mainly designed for non-interactive use. This means that the job runs unattended. So the login through the interactive login is the option that we introduced in our last release, is to solve a problem that you don't have to set up the app user and Azure applications. So, which for Dataflow, when you work with Dataflow, it's a particular challenge that you don't have a way to create app users, because that is locked in that instance. So I went through the sort of investigation, and with your input, we were able to come up with a strategy to, actually we had the infrastructure there to support it, but in the past, but we never really put much attention until you called out. So I appreciate that your feedback, and we were able to make a quick swift implementation to that option.
Well, thanks for doing that, because there's been a few people that have been blogging about it recently. Actually, I saw, and there was like a video showing how to use it. So it's definitely resonated with a lot of people. So now people can do these interactive logins without having to go and set up an application ID and client secret, which is most developers are sort of behind kept in a little box and not allowed to go and do those kind of things. Well, I mean, Daryl's kept in a little box all the time, so
I'm surprised I can even fit in it because I'm kind of big, so little, yeah. But, so other trends that we see, PowerFX is coming out. Not coming out, is out and is growing, is gathering speed. Scott had a good video about using the new PowerFX buttons, right? Ribbon buttons. And is that the death of the ribbon tool bench and all that kind of fun stuff?
The ribbon
work
tool
bench.
bench.
Ribbon workbench. Sorry. I got Toolkit, Toolcast, ribbon workbench. Yes. Sorry. I'll edit that. Anyway, so Dan, have you ever thought of trying to utilize PowerFX within like some of the steps that you might be able to do within the actual toolkit, the SSIS toolkit, SSIS KingswaySoft adapter, whatever it is?
I want to be very honest with you. I have not thought about it because the main thing is the PowerFX is more a front-end technology. But you guys probably could help me to think about that if that's something. Yeah, it's something
It's an interesting thought, just because then that kind of opens up for more quote unquote low coders. But then at the same point in time, you're running an SSIS, so they have to really have kind of Visual Studio anyway, right, to go through and configure that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like the low code, if you like, story for integration seems to be gathering momentum around data flows. Daniel, how do you see data flows sitting with your SSIS toolkit and integrations and things? Because obviously data flows are all there right inside the Power Apps Maker portal.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. Dataflow, it's designed. The Dataflow is mainly designed for like pre-built integration, if I understand correctly. In the SS community, we are targeting, or we are addressing a much bigger issue than just what Dataflow is trying to address. Of course, I think Dataflow has a connector community, maybe that's growing, but still, it's specifically designed within the Power Platform ecosystem. So it's a cohesive environment, but it's still very focused to the Power Platform. So in SS, so we have many clients today. It's not a majority of our client base yet, but we have a lot of clients use many of our other connectors, including some general ETL capabilities, such as data quality ones, such as general like a web service component, general REST service component. So we have a lot of those clients. So we are working on much bigger paradigm. So to solve a bigger issue, but I agree. If you could leverage Dataflow to the degree you satisfy your requirement, or I feel that you could try that as a first option.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is that if you don't have people who are capable of creating SSIS packages, then Dataflows is probably going to be a good way of getting into some sort of integration. It'll be like, oh well, this is the only option we've got. But the thing I love about the SSIS toolkit and SSIS as a product as part of SQL Server is not only is it very powerful in terms of it's a lot bigger, right? Like you was just saying, there's a lot. The ecosystem is much bigger. They're much more mature, but also there's a ton of people out there who are already experts in SSIS. There's people who that's their job, doing SSIS integrations. And so you can very quickly get a team of people who are good doing data integration and give them the SSIS toolkit. And suddenly they're Dataverse experts as well, because for them, it's no difference. It's just an endpoint. It's just a source or a destination. and it works alongside everything else that they're doing already. And so yeah, it seems to me as that if you're going to use this SSIS toolkit, then it's like a natural thing already. It's not like a decision you have to make. It's like, well, we've already got skills. Why wouldn't we use SSIS? But a common question that comes up, though, and I get asked this a lot, is batch ETL versus real-time kind of message queue type integration. Those two kind of architectures. Do you have any sort of advice for people if they're looking at integrations and their team are saying, okay, which should we use? Should we use batch ETL, or we should use sort of like a message queuing, message bus type integration?
Oh, that's a very good question. So my perspective is you choose what suits your business requirement, what your business requirement calls for. My primary assessment is do you really need a real-time integration? If you need real-time integration, that messaging queue is the way to go. If you can tolerate, or in certain way, if you can, your user could wait for maybe 5 minutes before the change happens, then the batch-based integration solution can suit your need. It really depends on that situation. So we do support both actually today. We launched a new product called Integration Gateway. It's the main purpose of the Integration Gateway last year we launched is to support real-time integration. So it's a gateway that can take message from any webhooks infrastructure and push data into a queue, and then you have a service that listens to the queue and do the further integration. So that loop we actually close. We have more than few clients using the solution, and with good success. But a majority of our clients still on the batch-based integration scenario. But yeah, so we do cover both.
That sounds awesome. I hadn't seen that. I definitely need to check that out. That sounds quite interesting. So is the engine behind it similar to the SSIS toolkit, or is it like a completely separate product?
It's a completely separate product. It's a standalone solution. It's a service running on your server that receive hooks message and push. It's kind of a middleware that sit on your infrastructure or on the cloud to facilitate your source system to the target system integration.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, definitely going to check that out. And we'll put links and stuff in for people to follow to kind of find more information about it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you give those links.
So Daryl, are you? Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah. Absolutely. If you give us those links, yes, we'll put them there. I mean, Daryl? Have you done much stuff with data flows recently?
Not recently. No. Last year is the last time I've touched a data flow. So no.
Right. Yeah. Because they have updated, they have changed, but I do think that given the choice, I'm always much more comfortable with SSIS just because the SSIS toolkit, because I know it's a lot more. The features of there are a lot closer to Dataverse. I think that's the thing, is that there's a lot the things that you put in there, like caching of lookup data and all of those enhancements that really come from that detailed understanding of how the Dataverse API works. For me, feels that it's going to be a lot less prone to problems and change. And the other thing, and I say that the SSI toolkit, how long? 10 years? Is you say you've been doing this for 10 years now, Daniel?
Yeah, we've been doing 10 years now.
Yeah, so you've not only have you kept up with the API and the changes, but also the user interface. Basically, if you hadn't used it for 9 years, you'd be able to use it today, because it's the SSIS as a product and is so stable and so mature that it's not like, can you imagine somebody working in in the Power Platform or, CRM back in the day. And now if they went away with it from 9 years and then came back to it today, can you imagine what they'd think? What is this? Whereas if you were working in SSIS 9 years ago and you came back to it today, you'd be like, yeah, I know this. I can carry on doing this.
What's been the biggest, I guess the thing that people always, when they think of integrations, they're always like speed. I want speed. What's been the biggest changes that Microsoft has done that has allowed you to improve your throughput? Was it going from SOAP to REST? Was it adding the batch transaction requests? Like what do you think has been the most influential for speeding things up? Is there some authentication change I don't know about?
Are you asking Scott or asking me?
No, I'm asking you. You, the KingswaySoft expert.
No, he's asking you. You're the expert.
Okay. Maybe I will say first, and Scott, you add to what I would say. Okay. How about that way?
Sure.
Okay. I think over the years the two big big thing that in the Dynamics community is the first thing is in the 2011 time, that's around 2011, 2012, Microsoft released the updated rollup 12, which includes the batch support, which was a big improvement in terms of you can scale up your writing performance. In terms of performance, we are mainly talking about the writing. And that was a very big improvement. And then over the years, on the SSIS side, we actually start our initiative to enable the multi-threaded writing. In early days, you can do multi-threaded writing using it's a special SS component called Balanced Data Distributor. It's short for BDD. You can achieve multi-threaded writing, but there are a lot of constraints using that as infrastructure. Basically, you cannot go over 5 thread, so that's a very hidden limit, and nobody knows it. Almost nobody knows it, but certain people wouldn't know. So as we progress, we decide to put that infrastructure into our system, into our destiny component natively, so you can write simultaneously to the server. So this is second kind of enhancement in our solution, that is to support not only batch writing but also multi-threaded writing. So that scale the performance very well and can achieve much greater performance, writing performance. But when we actually go both batch writing and also multi-threaded writing, it becomes an issue to the server, because easily we can put like a 40 thread or even 100 thread to the server, and the server gets overloaded. It's a good issue. It's a good strategy for the client, but from Microsoft side, if everybody overload the server, then their SLA will degrade to a certain point that other client will suffer from the performance, because Microsoft Dynamics Online is a scale group infrastructure. So you share the resources with the other tenants in the same scale group. So in that sense, Microsoft introduced the API limit. So as the API limit comes in, so as a community member, we would have to follow and have to respect the API limit they have introduced. Because this kind of limit is to help protect the overall Dynamics Online environment, to make it healthy for everybody, not just for you as a single tenant. So we jumped in right away, and we implement our strategy to gracefully handle any throttling issue because of the API limits. So that has been introduced and has been used pretty flawlessly for the client. So you don't have to do anything that when we see throttling happening on the server side, we automatically scale down the writing and wait for the total second of what the server tells us, and then we resubmit the request. So which has worked very well for many of our clients.
Cool. So are you using the actual CRM SDK under the covers, or do you have your own custom adapter to CRM?
Good question. We are a custom library. We use our own custom library to drive that, and for Web API, it's just native HTTP request.
Cool.
Yeah, because this SDK assemblies, they just do a thread.sleep if they hit those limits, which is not good in a high throughput environment because you're just going to lock up that thread and you can't use it for anything else. So, and it's obvious when you're using it that it you immediately get good. I mean, if you've ever tried to write your own console app, it's a very tempting thing to do. It's like, hey, I don't need any kind of integration. I'm just going to create some kind of little app to do my integration. But you quickly come up against all these like intricacies of affinity cookies and retrying when you've got the server throttling messages and all. But the thing is, using the SSI toolkit, it just works. I mean, you just explain what's going on behind the scenes there, but you could use the SSI toolkit and not know any of that stuff because it just handles it so well. Have you ever had a call from Microsoft saying, yeah, so Daniel, this SSIS toolkit, it's kind of causing us some problems on our servers because lots of people are doing things that way too quick. They shouldn't be able to do them that quickly.
Yeah, I had some interesting conversation exactly like that.
Okay.
And we actually had this exact same conversation. Once that's the way we kind of introduce over the time of what we've been educating our client to say you don't want to be too aggressive to the platform because that's going to cause harm to your neighborhood. And otherwise, we just tell the client to upgrade the software to leverage the automatic API limit handling. So it has worked very well. And we try to be good citizens.
Yeah, my neighbor, Daryl's always slowing my server down. He's doing stuff and I'm just like bang on the walls every time. It's like, stop doing that, Daryl.
Stop doing
that. Get off my lawn.
Get off my virtual lawn.
Yeah.
So we've gone through the history of the tool. We've gone through some of the performance improvements and performance changes and things that have changed over time. Have we hit up anything new that's coming out that we need to know about, the community needs to know about, Dan?
That's a good question. I think probably one of the things we had a big challenge was I wouldn't say this is a future trend, but I would have put on the table just for everybody who wants to get the API under the hood. You want to be aware. So we went through a lot of challenges with Web API implementation. We ran into a lot of issues. Many of the issues are related to the feature not being comprehensively communicated to the community, or otherwise it's not fully documented. Some of the API capability or how you go about it, including in the early days, we had a big trouble to set a property to an empty value. I think I got help from Scott. We were able to overcome the issue. The problem is, it's not about how much difficult that is to code it, but it's just you don't know it because there's a certain option there either in the header or maybe in certain way in the messages, such as action, such as like a bound action or unbound action. A lot of things are not very clear when you actually just read the documentation. You have to really do a lot of poke around to actually find out to what's going on. So that's kind of for anybody, I would just say, for anybody who wants to get into Web API implementation, either using a JavaScript or C# code, you just have to watch for those little details, and you want to make sure you do the right and give the right performance for the tool.
So did I hear anything new coming on the pipe? I don't think I did.
Oh, yeah, you mean on our side, KingswaySoft side, we do have something planned for the next year-ish for new release. I cannot give too much details yet, but we're excited to.
Top secret.
Secrets.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know Dan's two triggers are, the firstly is SOAP vs Web API, so we just covered that. The other one is tables vs entity. No, that's another one of the triggers for you, Daniel.
What's your guys' take on that?
You're not engaging. You're not taking the bait, are you? Or maybe choices versus option set. That's another trigger.
With all the respect to Microsoft team, because they are doing a phenomenal job for pushing the product forward, I do have my own reservation in terms of those terminology changes. I much prefer entity than table, because entity carries a lot more information than just a table. You can have security model implemented. You can there's a lot of things under the hood. But I get why Microsoft moved to that direction, because it's a natural concept for people who does not have a very strong technical background. So it is in the knife. Everybody's a knife. You make a difficult. You make a different choice. You make different decisions over the time. It's you never could say one is absolutely right and one is absolutely wrong. So it's just you have to live with it, and you make the choice to live with it. That's my take.
I guess it's consistency, right? So as long as things are consistent, but it must be very difficult for you, because that change has got a lot of impact on your product. If you've got to change everything from entity to table and option set to choices, and that's a big change, right? And then you've got like versions, like, well, what happens if you're pointing at an on-premise server, because it works with on-premise as well as online, and so are you going to dynamically change it depending on what version you're pointing to? It's quite tricky.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the interesting aspects is the introduction of global discovery services and the deprecation of regional discovery services. Actually, we had a lot of client call for that because the discovery just does not work anymore. And our solution for the client is to ask them to upgrade. We started to support it since last year release. But many of our clients today, they are like the version they are using is 4 years old, 5 years old, still working using. Everything else just works perfectly fine except the global discovery, the regional discovery being an issue for them. They reach out to us. We tell them what's happening. We try to help them to convert to the new version, and most of the time it's a successful story, and it's pretty much every single case. But it's just sometimes it happens. You get in a panic mode because all of a sudden my connection just didn't work in CSS.
So stay updated, folks. That's the lesson. Yeah, always update to the latest version. Just keep things working.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dan, really appreciate your time. Appreciate the tool you've created, and I guess you have kind of a freemium model, I guess if you want to call it that, where it's free to be able to use their developers to be able to go out and get things working, get that integration working, and they may spend 6 months doing that in something really complicated, and then finally have to actually purchase it when they go to at their production environment. So thank you for that. Thank you for continuing that effort. And I had many times where I've been using KingswaySoft and I know you, so I send you a message and I figure you'd like send me on to your like help department or your no, you usually answer all the questions or you walk me through whatever issue I'm facing with. So personal thank you there, although I'm not sure you should continue to do that because you are one person, but I appreciate the time that you do spend doing that. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Just on the clarification purpose that we have a team close to 20 people, so it's not me alone doing everything. So, but I kind of oversee the general strategy and try to. Of course, I want to keep up with the changes.
Yeah.
Well, what's Dan saying there, Daryl, is you're a VIP, so you get the VIP treatment, you see.
All right. Yes, I guess I get the VIP treatment. So how do our listeners get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of using KingswaySoft?
Just reach out to us through our website, any social channel we are on. So we are a client first organization. So we have very strong focus dedication to our client success. So we try to help in any way we could possibly help our client.
Are you going to be at Summit North America?
Summit? Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. No, we didn't plan for it. It's we still want to take it's a big travel, so we get a little bit Yeah,
but I guess next year, the people will be able to, because that's the thing. You in the past, you've always had a booth in these events, and there's always been a big crowd of people kind of finding out about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no, we didn't book for this year. We are mainly concerned about still, we are not too sure about the pandemic situation. We want to be safe to our staff, our employees, and also
softly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Daryl, are you going to ask me a question about something there?
Yes. If our that's so our listeners can get a hold of Daniel KingswaySoft. How can they get a hold of us?
Well, you can get hold of us by sending us an email at cast@xrmtoolbox.com, or you can follow us on Twitter and tweet us at xrmtoolcast, or indeed on LinkedIn at the same, and we would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, Dan, thanks for being on. Appreciate it, and we'll let you go. We'll talk to you later, man.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
This has been the XRM Toolcast with Jonas Rapp and Daryl Labar. If you have any questions for Jonas or I, or suggestions for future episodes, please send them to cast@xrmtoolbox.com or tweet to XRM Toolcast.